So I'm now going to explain a little bit about limiting decisions because it's really helpful to understand how they get formed and what they are in order, it'll help you understand this process once I start it, if you have more of an idea. So limiting decisions are usually formed before the age of 6 or 7 years old, sometimes in adolescence, but usually very young. And they are at the bottom of any dysfunctional pattern that you have. Anything that brings negative, painful emotions, there are limiting decisions at the bottom of those. So I'll give you sort of an example of a situation in which a limiting decision might occur. Let's say you're 5 years old and you're at home and your mother is planning a birthday party for your bigger brother, your big brother. And she's made this beautiful cake with all this icing on it, and it looks just luscious. And it's in the living room counter, on the living room counter. And your mother has made it very clear to you that you're not to go near that cake because they're saving it for the party. And so you're sort of eyeing the cake there, and it's looking so good. And you think, well, if I just take a little bit of the frosting, nobody's going to notice. I'll just sort of cover it up. I just want to know what it tastes like. And so you reach up on the counter, because you're little, you're reaching up on the counter, and you pull the cake a little bit towards you so you can get a little fingerful, and you pull it too far, and it falls on the floor, and the cake is ruined. And it makes a big clatter. Your mother hears it, and she storms in, and she sees what you've done. I can tell that you're really experiencing this. And she spanks you, and she says, "You are so selfish. You're such a selfish person. Don't you care about your brother's party?" And she goes on and on. Well, this is a really good potential circumstance for making a limiting decision. So what happens in that kind of a circumstance is the child basically goes into a state of shock. Something has occurred that they don't have the conscious tools to make sense of. And their insides sort of go into a state of chaos and confusion. So what happens is the conscious mind stops functioning and the unconscious mind takes over. And that is a state of trance. It's a very impressionable state, a very malleable state when your conscious mind is not functioning and your unconscious mind is taken over. And in that state, the child decides on a meaning for what they just saw, heard, and felt, based on the amount of development that they have up to that point in their life. And in this case, they're only 5 years old. So the child might decide, if I'm going after what I like or what I enjoy or what I want, that means I'm selfish. So that would be the most obvious one. There are other ones that could be made, such as I'm bad, I just am being myself, or there's any number of ones for the child. And they could make more than one limiting decision in the same event. That does often happen. So, and then it gets locked into their physiology, their muscle contractions, their breathing patterns, and their neural network patterns. And then the conscious mind takes back over, not realizing that the child doesn't realize she's made a decision. And this happens like in a flash. It's a very fast process. It's just a flash moment. The unconscious mind is taken over, the child makes a limiting decision, and then the conscious mind takes back over, and they don't realize they've made a limiting decision. But from that point on, they are filtering their experience of reality through that decision, like an unconscious assumption about the nature of life. So in other words, their experience of reality has been distorted from that point on. Their idea of what objective reality is now in that area they are disconnected from present moment experience. And the unconscious mind is invested in proving the limiting decision is true. So that's why people have patterns that happen over and over again. It's because they've got a limiting decision in there and the unconscious mind is looking for excuses to prove that it's true. And so it affects the kinds of people and situations you attract to yourself or are attracted to, or the aspects of certain people and situations. Because different people have different relationships with the same person, depending on the vibrations they relate to. So what may end up happening to this particular person is she or he may end up depriving themselves in life and put the other people's needs first always, and then feel resentful because their own needs are not getting met. And so, as you might imagine, this is a really good opportunity. And so this kind of thing is festering, and it's going to come out in some kind of relationship or other, you can imagine. You know, if you're denying your own needs, and then let's say the other person is going after all their needs and you're denying yours, there's going to be conflict in there. You know, or if they should even intimate that you're selfish. When you deny yourself all over the place, and you finally do one thing, and then they're calling you selfish, how dare you? You know? And then so that person reacts in a triggered way, and then of course the other person gets triggered by that person saying whatever they do, and then you're off and running. And both of you are feeling like a small child being castigated, and the other person is a big adult with all this power, and so you feel free to sort of attack to try to get your power back, and the other person is also feeling like a small child with this big person with all this power and attacking back. So that's what happens. Let's see. So basically, when you are triggered, you are coming from an unconscious, subjective reaction to what's occurring. One of the important purposes of the process I'm just about to start is it helps you move from this unconscious, subjective reaction to a conscious, objective awareness. So, the first step here is to become conscious that you're triggered. And that's really, you could almost say that's the most important step. To rather than just immediately react and respond as if this person is doing something to you, to recognize, okay, I've now been triggered, is a really important step. And the next is to become fully aware of the feeling, fully aware of feeling that feeling of being triggered. What does it feel like to you guys when you're triggered? What kind of feelings come up for you?